I'm not teaching, I am publicly learning. But hi and welcome to Learning for the Life in the UK test part 83, the Prime Minister part 2, that is on the page 34. While doing leg injury prevention training, and if you participate in the leg injury prevention training, that is at your own risk. The Prime Minister. We had started a bit, but we're going to repeat it now. So when Queen Anne died in 1714, Parliament chose a German, George I, to be the next king. It would be helpful to maybe at one place to get all the dates together, when to when, who was monarch or the Lord Protector. So maybe we're going to do it, but maybe that will be somewhere in it later on the pages, but we should go to that. So in 1714 Queen Anne died. We don't know who Queen Anne was. She was the successor of William and Mary. Was she now the second daughter of James II? Was she a child or someone completely unrelated and just the successor? So when she died in 1714, the next closest relative to a relative has to be an ancestor. So the next closest relative to Anne, and who was a Protestant, was then made king, and that was George I, who was a German. An attempt by Scottish Jacobites to put James II's son on the throne instead was quickly defeated. So about the Jacobites, we know that these are the people who wanted to have James on the throne. Some continued to believe that James was the rightful king, particularly in Scotland. Some joined him in exile in France, others were secret supporters. James' supporters became known as Jacobites. James II was the Catholic brother of the Protestantic King Charles II. And there was the Glorious Revolution, and James had to flee the country because William of Orange was invited in, and William of Orange became William III together with Mary, and they were together reigning. He tried to come into Ireland and conquer Ireland, but William III's troops pushed him out, and he fled back to France. And now, while he was in exile in France, some people joined him, and others believed him to be the rightful king. And these supporters of Jacob are called Jacobites. So an attempt by Scottish Jacobites, Jacobits, Jacobites, to put James II's son, so James II had a son, on the throne instead was quickly defeated. So some Scottish Jacobites, so people who had the opinion that James II is the rightful heir to the throne, wanted to put James II's son now onto the throne. Maybe James II wasn't alive anymore. Queen Anne, so Mary and William were no longer governing, and Queen Anne had already also died in 1747, so the son of James II. But their try was quickly defeated. Let's do a bit leg injury prevention training. We're having the legs standing quite a wide apart. We're breathing in and going down. And breathing out. Again in. And out. Again in. And out. Again in. Last one. And out. Close the legs. And we're doing the first exercise. So you have a good standing leg. The other leg is with the flex foot in the air. The leg is straight. And we're swinging the leg in front and to the side. Just swing it in front and to the side. And the toes of the leg, which is swinging, are pointing more or less in front the whole time. So the foot is like that. A few more, and then we're changing over to the other foot. The leg in the air with a flexed foot, and swinging it to the side and in front, to the side. And a few more. And now we're going on with the next exercise. We're having a good standing leg. The other leg comes in the air, the right angle of the leg, and the flexed foot. We're having even aligned hips and retort of the back. And now we're slowly bringing the leg to the outside. We are breathing in. And out, we're bringing the leg controlled back in and controlled down. And another time, the leg up, right angle, flexed foot, even aligned hips toward the back. We're breathing in and bring the leg to the outside. And out. and breathe in. And out of the leg again in. And control down. Now with your leg, the leg up, we're breathing in. And we're breathing out the leg to the outside. We're breathing in. And out the leg back into the middle and control down. And we get the leg up, we're breathing in, right hand over the leg, flex foot, even hips down with the leg. And out and the leg to the outside. We're breathing in. And out the leg back into the middle. So in 1747, Queen Anne died and she had no children. So, what's that? Yes, so the parliament chose her closest relative, who was Protestant, that was George I, a German, to be the next king. And the Jacobites in Scotland wanted to put the son of James II onto the throne, but that was quickly defeated. George I did not speak very good English, and this increased his need to rely on his ministers. So George I, they write that he was a German, so probably was he speaking German, and he did not speak that good English. And so he needed the ministers to work for him. So we know that after the Bill of Rights, that was 1689, the king had advisors and ministers, and they were in the parliament, and were making sure that he got the majority of the votes. Let's read what they have said here. To be able to govern effectively, the monarch needed to have advisors or ministers who would be able to ensure a majority of votes in the House of Commons and the House of Lords. So now George I could not go himself into the parliament. He has not even written how much he was now in England or in, I think he was Prussian. But Prussian is not so much German as German is German. So George I, but he speaks German, the Prussian spoke German, as far as I know. So he was speaking not good English, we have that. And he did not set a foot into the House of Commons, we know that, because no English monarch had set a foot into the House of Commons since Charles I had done it once. And he needed ministers who were going for him to the parliament, who were probably able to speak English, probably also German, so how could he else talk with his ministers? Whatever. He could not do the job himself, and he needed more people who could speak English, and these were the ministers. We're coming to the Prime Minister. This is about the Prime Minister. And so he had people who were going instead of him to the Parliament because there was a language barrier. The most important minister in Parliament became known as the Prime Minister. Now, how do we select it? Who is the most important minister? Now, imagine you have a bunch of ministers, and how do you know who is the most important one? I think we should not think about that. We should just take it for the test as it's written here. One of them was the most important one, and so that person was called the Prime Minister. The most important minister in Parliament became known as the Prime Minister. Minister in Parliament. So now they said something. Should we think, or should we just take as it's here? Because in some places to think is not really helpful. Of course, thinking yes, but not to question what's written here and to really think between all these sentences. What are they saying literally? And calculate all the information we have mathematically together. And if there's a number to be rounded, should you then think and just add what is missing or not? The monarch needed to have advisors or ministers who would be able to ensure a majority of votes in the House of Commons and House of Lords. So are the ministers now part of the Parliament? Are the ministers voted in by the voting population? Are ministers voted in, or are they set into place by the king, or what is called set into? Are they made to ministers by the king, or are they voted in? Are the ministers part of the Parliament? The most important minister in Parliament became known as the Prime Minister. We don't know it. It is a little missing thing here. The first man to be called this was Sir Robert Walpole, who was Prime Minister from 1727 until 1742. These are good numbers, 21 years. 1721, 21 years, 1742. Robert Walpole. Walpole. Well, it would sound nice. Robert Walpole. We're going to repeat it after we finish the leg stretching exercise. The leg stretching for injury prevention training. We continue with it. We are bringing one leg up, right ankle, flex foot, even line hips, tall up with the back. And now we're pressing from the inside against the knees. So I have a tall back, a straight back, and even aligned hips, and a little bit of the elbow. And press. You don't have to overdo it, but press. A little longer, straight and tall with the back, even aligned hips. And we're changing. Now with the other leg, the leg up, right angle with the leg, flex foot, even aligned hips, tall up with the back. And we're pressing with good, but not overly much force against the inside of the knee. Now we're switching to the next exercise. The leg comes up, right angle with the leg, flex foot, even line hips, tall up with the back. And now the knee presses up into the hand, into the side, into the other hand. So up to the side, up to the side. Tall up with the back, even lined hips. And a little longer. Tall up with the back, even lined hips. And we're changing the other leg, leg up, right angle with the leg, flex foot, even lined hips. The leg presses up to the side, up to the side, up to the side. A little longer, straight, tall up with the back, especially in the lumbar spine, and even lined hips. And with most exercise, the closing exercise, we're breathing in and out. Again in and out. Again in and out. Last round in and out. Close the legs. And we're done with the leg injury prevention training. So, Queen Anne died in 1747. She was the successor of William and Mary. And she had no children, and the Parliament took her closest relative, who was a Protestant, which was George I, as the new monarch. He was a German, and there was by the Scottish Jacobites resistance against it, but that was quickly defeated. George I did not speak good English, so he was more in reliance on ministers. The most important minister in Parliament was called the Prime Minister, and the first one was for 21 years from 1721 until 1742, Robert Walpole, Sir Robert Walpole. I'm going to show you how it's written. Where are the thumb? I'm going to spell you how it's written. R-O-B-E-R-T and the Sir S-I-R, and then W-A-L-P-O-L-E. Robert Walpole. 21 years, from 1721 until 1742. Queen Anne died in 1714. With that, we are through with the Prime Minister. Let's do two things. The first one is the Act of Union. We were pretty fast about that. And that was so fast and easy that we probably don't remember it. On the left we have written the Act of Union, known as the Treaty of Union in Scotland. So here it's the same sentence, but now it's clear. Was agreed in 1707 and creating the Kingdom of Great Britain. That seems to be one of the most obvious things to be questioned and probably easiest to questions, but it's so easy to understand, but we're not spending time on it and don't remember it. So the Act of Union, or in Scotland known as Treaty of Union. Act of Union, Treaty of Union. That was in 1707, and it created Great Britain, the Kingdom of Great Britain. And the other thing was the Bill of Rights. That was in 1689, and it confirmed the rights of Parliament and limits of the King's power. So the Bill of Rights in 1689, there was said that the Parliament, what the Parliament had for rights, and it limited the rights of the King. And the habeas corpus, as Latin for you must present the person in court, the Act guaranteed that no one could be held prisoner unlawfully. I still don't understand what we are explaining here, but we are taking no one could be held prisoner unlawfully. Every prisoner had the right, or has the right, to a court hearing. It means something like that. My question is probably not 100% exactly after what we are explaining here, but what it is. And I think we understand what it is. better than what we are explaining here. So this is the end. I thank you very much, and until next time.